My dear brothers and sisters, when we speak of Imam Mahdi, the awaited savior of humanity, we are not just speaking of a future figure, an abstract hope waiting at the edge of time. No, we are speaking of a soul deeply rooted in the noblest tree of all creation. A tree whose seed was planted in the heart of divine revelation, whose branches spread through generations of truth, patience, and sacrifice, and whose fruits still nourish the spirit of this ummah. To understand the Mahdi, one must understand the house from which he comes, the family from which he descends, and the bloodline that flows through his blessed veins. He is not a man that will emerge from obscurity, disconnected from our history. He is the son of the Prophet Muhammad, his grandson many generations down. He is the continuation of that pure line that Allah himself honored in the Quran, when he said, "Verily, Allah intends only to remove from you the impurity of sin, O people of the prophets' household, and to purify you with extensive purification." This is no ordinary family. This is the Bayt, chosen by divine command, tested by the heaviest burdens, and entrusted with the safeguarding of the pure message of Islam. The lineage of Imam Mahdi flows through Lady Fatima Zahra, the beloved daughter of the Prophet. She was not just his child, she was his soul, his heart, his mirror. The Prophet would stand when she entered the room. He called her the leader of the women of paradise. From her union with Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib, the door to this sacred lineage was opened. Their children, Hassan and Hussein, were called by the Prophet, "my sons," and through Hussein, the light of the Imamate continued to shine. From Imam Hussein, who stood bravely on the plains of Karbala and sacrificed everything for the truth, this line continued through Imam Zain al-Abidin, the embodiment of patience and worship. Then came Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, who opened the treasures of divine knowledge, followed by Imam Jafar as-Sadiq, whose school of thought would form the foundations of much of our Islamic understanding today. This unbroken line of spiritual guidance, from father to son, from heart to heart, would continue until it reached the 11th Imam, Hassan al-Askari, who, by Allah's wisdom, was chosen to be the father of the Imam of our time, Imam Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Mahdi. This lineage is not political. It is not built on conquest or inheritance in the worldly sense. It is a chain of trust, where the divine message is carried forward not just by name, but by character, by faith, by knowledge, by sacrifice. Each Imam in this noble tree was tested. Each stood against tyranny. Each bore witness to truth. And yet, each lived a life of humility, of prayer, of connection with the oppressed, the orphan, the seeker. And it is from this legacy that the Mahdi emerges. His name is the name of the Prophet. His mission is the mission of the Prophet. But he is not just a descendant by blood, he is a reflection of the same light. And we, as a people, are not waiting for a stranger. We are waiting for a member of our Prophet's own household, a man whose roots are deep in the soil of divine mercy. It is easy for the world to forget lineage in this age. Power today comes from wealth, from media, from the ability to control narratives. But divine authority is different. It does not come from propaganda. It comes from purity. From lineage protected by Allah. From a house that gave the world its greatest example of justice, compassion, and resistance. So when we speak of Imam Mahdi, let us not see him as distant. Let us remember that his story began long ago, under the shade of the Prophet's cloak, when the Al-Bayt were purified. His journey was shaped by Hussein's stand, by Zainab's patience, by the tears of Sajjad and the knowledge of Sadiq. His blood carries their memory, and his mission carries their burden. This is the family tree of Imam Mahdi, not just a biological connection, but a moral inheritance. A line of light stretching from the heart of revelation to the darkness of our present time, waiting for the command of Allah to rise and illuminate the world once again. My dear believers, as we continue to reflect upon the honored lineage of Imam Mahdi, let us now turn our hearts to the pivotal role of the Al-Bayt, not just as a family, but as divine guardians of the faith. For the household of the Prophet was not chosen merely for honor or lineage, they were chosen for guidance. They were the living embodiment of the Quran. And through each of them, a light was passed, a torch of truth that continued to burn even as darkness spread across the Ummah. After the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, on the burning sands of Karbala, a moment that split history in two, the responsibility of protecting Islam fell not into the hands of armies, but into the hearts of the Imams who followed him. Imam Zainul Abidin, the fourth Imam, bore that pain with a strength that could only come from heaven. Silently, through supplication and whispered prayers, he preserved the faith when speaking openly meant certain death. His Sahifa Sajidiyya, known as the Psalms of Islam, taught us that even when swords are drawn against you, the true believer lifts his hands in prayer, not in surrender. From him, the path of guidance continued through Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, who opened the doors of knowledge at a time when ignorance threatened to overtake truth. And then came Imam Jafar as-Sadiq, the sixth Imam, whose knowledge became so vast, so influential, that both Sunni and Shia scholars came to him for wisdom. He taught jurisprudence, chemistry, philosophy, and theology. But more than that, he taught taqwa, that real knowledge is nothing if it does not lead to submission before Allah. These Imams were not kings. They were not seekers of worldly rule. They had no palaces, no battalions, no armies marching at their command. But they had something far more powerful, truth. Their authority came from the Prophet, and their knowledge was a trust passed from one to the next, not based on popularity or vote, but on divine designation. We must understand, my dear brothers and sisters, that these men stood firm against oppression not with weapons, but with their hearts. Imam Musa al-Kazim spent years in prison, and yet his cell became a place of worship so radiant that even his jailers were moved by his patience. Imam Ali al-Ridha, even when summoned to the Abbasid court, carried himself with such dignity and spiritual strength that those who tried to use him for political gain ended up being exposed by their own arrogance. And so it continued, Imam after Imam, each one a signpost for the sincere, a proof for the seekers. They were shields protecting the message of Islam, not allowing it to be corrupted by the rulers of their time. They did not raise armies to fight for thrones. They raised souls to fight against falsehood. They showed the Ummah that the greatest jihad is not on the battlefield, it is the battle against injustice, ignorance, and arrogance. Now, all of this leads us to understand something deeply important about Imam Mahdi. He is not a new figure rising out of nowhere. He is the continuation of this sacred mission. He is the 12th link in this chain. His emergence is not just a hope, it is the natural conclusion of the trust placed in the Bayt. When he rises, he will carry the same torch that was passed down to him through generations of truth-bearers. Some may ask, why did Allah choose these individuals? Why did he make this family the guardians of his religion? The answer lies in their unwavering faith, their refusal to compromise, and their total devotion to divine will. From Imam Ali, the gate to the city of knowledge, to Imam Hassan al-Askari, who protected the final Imam through secrecy and caution, each one lived and died for the truth. And each one left behind a legacy that continues to guide hearts today. So when you hear the name of Imam Mahdi, remember that he is not a lonely savior waiting in the shadows. He is the heir to a divine tradition, a chain of noble men whose lives were books of sacrifice, whose voices were echoes of the Prophet's own message. He is the proof of God on earth, the one who will rise not to create a new religion, but to revive the true Islam that has been buried under centuries of corruption, distortion, and arrogance. The family of the Mahdi, the Bayt, are the reason we still have the light of faith today. They carried it through the storm so that it could one day shine again in full. And it is through them that the Ummah will be reunited under truth, under justice, and under the leadership of the one who was promised. My dear brothers and sisters, now we turn our hearts to a mystery, one that has puzzled some, strengthened the faith of others, and remains at the center of our belief in the divine promise. That mystery is the occultation, or Ghaiba, of Imam Mahdi. It is not simply an absence. It is not a disappearance in the worldly sense. It is a concealment guided by divine wisdom. A waiting ordained by Allah himself, in preparation for a time when the world will be ready, and the Imam will return not in secrecy, but in light. The Imam was born. Let no one confuse this. He was not just a hope for the future, he came into this world through the womb of a righteous mother and into the arms of his father, Imam Hassan al-Askari. And just as the Prophet Musa was born in secret to escape the killing hands of Pharaoh, Imam Mahdi was born in hidden circumstances to protect him from the tyrants of his time. The forces of oppression knew the narrations. They feared the prophecy. They knew that a child from the Prophet's lineage would rise to end their injustice, and so they sought to prevent his existence. But Allah, as always, is greater than their plans. From his early childhood, the Imam was kept in protection. Only a few close companions witnessed him. Then came the minor occultation. A period in which the Imam remained hidden from the public eye, but still communicated with the Ummah through his appointed deputies. These were not ordinary men, they were trustworthy, pious servants who carried the Imam's guidance to the people. Through them, he answered questions, resolved disputes, and reminded the faithful that although he was hidden, he was never absent from the affairs of the believers. Then came the major occultation, a period that continues until today. During this time, no direct communication remains, and the Imam no longer appoints individuals to speak on his behalf. Some may ask, why would Allah hide his representative? Why would the leader of humanity be concealed from view while the world burns with injustice, corruption, and despair? The answer is both simple and profound. Because the world is not yet ready. Because the hearts of people must be purified. Because the system of tyranny that has wrapped itself around the world must be exposed in its totality, so that when the Imam rises, no one will doubt the truth of his mission. His occultation is a test, but it is also a mercy. It is a period for preparation, for spiritual growth, for communities to awaken and for souls to yearn for justice not with words alone, but with deeds. And let us not be mistaken. The Imam may be hidden from our eyes, but he is not disconnected from our lives. He sees us. He prays for us. He feels the suffering of every believer and the injustice faced by the oppressed. His presence in this world is like the sun behind the clouds, it still gives warmth, it still gives light, even if we cannot see its full radiance. The hearts that are awake still feel him. The minds that reflect still remember him. And the spirits that yearn for truth still wait with hope. Some have tried to deny the occultation. Others have tried to exploit it. But the sincere among the Ummah know that this is not a superstition or a myth, it is a divine plan unfolding with purpose. The same God who protected the baby Musa in the basket, who kept Yusuf safe in the well, who raised Isa to the heavens, that same God is the one who is preserving the Mahdi. His occultation also carries a powerful message: the time of blind dependence is over. In this era, we are called to rise with knowledge, with sincerity, with unity. We are to prepare not only with slogans and rituals, but with justice, piety, and the establishment of truth in our homes, our communities, our very souls. We are to act as if we are already in his army, even if we have not yet seen his banner. And when the moment comes, when the cry is heard from the heavens announcing his reappearance, the world will know that the one they mocked, the one they doubted, the one they forgot, has returned with divine authority. On that day, there will be no more confusion. No more oppression. No more falsehood dressed in robes of power. The Mahdi will rise to fill the earth with justice as it was filled with tyranny. Until that day comes, let our hearts remain firm. Let our actions reflect our faith. And let our longing for him purify us, not paralyze us. For the hidden Imam is watching. And the era of his return is nearer than we think. My dear believers, as we journey through the understanding of Imam Mahdi, his noble lineage, the sacred role of the Bayt, and the divine wisdom in his occultation, we now arrive at the most personal part of this truth, what he means for us today. Because belief in the Mahdi is not just a theological doctrine buried in books of history. It is a living connection. It is a responsibility. It is a mirror held up to our souls, asking each of us, are you among those preparing for his return, or among those delaying it? The Mahdi is not a symbol of vengeance. He is a symbol of divine justice. He is the extension of the Prophet's mercy, not a departure from it. His rise will not be to conquer with the sword, but to establish the reign of truth through the command of Allah. In a world torn by greed, crushed by corruption, and strangled by lies, he represents the promise that oppression will not be eternal, that there is a horizon beyond despair, a dawn after the longest night. But the real question we must ask is, what is our role in his mission? Because the Imam will not build a just world by himself. His companions, those 313 who will gather around him in the early days of his reappearance, will not be passive followers. They will be people of action, people of unwavering faith, people who have purified themselves not just from sin, but from ego, from hatred, from laziness, from fear. The Mahdi does not need numbers. He needs hearts that are awake. We often say we are waiting for him. But perhaps it is he who is waiting for us. Waiting for us to stop being divided. Waiting for us to stop chasing the world while forgetting our purpose. Waiting for us to build communities grounded in justice, mercy, and truth so that when he comes, he does not have to start from scratch. He is not coming to create believers, he is coming to lead those who are already prepared. And that preparation is not mystical. It is practical. It is in the way we treat the orphan, the way we speak the truth even when it costs us, the way we protect the dignity of the weak and refuse to bow to the powerful when they are wrong. It is in the knowledge we seek, the prayers we perform, the Quran we live by, and the love we have for the Prophet and his pure household. You see, the family tree of the Mahdi is not just a biological line. It is a spiritual line, a line of those who stood firm when the world turned against them. It is a line of resistance, a line of knowledge, a line of servanthood to Allah. If we wish to be counted among his supporters, then we must live as they lived. We must become students of their example, and soldiers of their mission, even if we never meet him in our lifetimes. And let us not forget, he is watching. Not in the sense of surveillance, but in the sense of care. Just as a shepherd watches over his scattered flock, just as a father watches over his child from a distance, he prays for us. He cries for us. His heart aches when we stray. And he rejoices when we return to Allah. He is not absent from our lives, he is present in every sincere act we do for the sake of truth. So what must we do? We must build a relationship with him. Speak to him in the quiet of the night. Send salawat upon him. Mention him in your dua, in your gatherings, in your homes. Remind your children that this world does not belong to tyrants, that our final hope is not in elections or wealth or weapons, but in the rising of a man whose light is the same light that shone from the face of the Prophet. And when he comes, may we not be among those who say, we were waiting, but among those who hear his call and say, here we are, O son of Fatima. We are ready.